really have to get in the heads of the contractors and get them to kind of put the pieces together themselves, ask them very probing questions about their business. And sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable.
It's just a brilliant way to take the data and use it in a way to help a contractor grow his business and grow his relationship with his customers and to help sell those IAQ solutions. So kudos to your team, man. You guys are crushing it. All right. Well, Scott, welcome. Appreciate having you here.
Oh, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun to for our listeners and viewers to recap the AHR Expo last week in Las Vegas. Since you and I were both there, we had a chance to catch up, and I thought it'd be a fun thing just to for those that maybe weren't there, kind of give them a vibe from where you and I stood. And just so, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna first and foremost, the question is: did you win any money or lose any money?
Well, I actually was borrowing from Christina, and I didn't feel like putting up any of my own money. We didn't sell enough pup units. So Christina was generous enough to give Caleb Salibi and I about $20 each. We went to the blackjack table. We actually were up for a brief period, and instead of walking away, we got greedy, and the dealer got blackjack, and that was it. We went home. So.
Well, hopefully it lasted a little while and he had some fun.
Well, it was more of a bucket list item. I'll tell you that. It was like, I have now gambled in Vegas, crossed off the list.
That's awesome. There you go. Check that box off. Well, your the Haven IAQ booth was absolutely gorgeous. The nice corner, the overhead signage, everything, honestly, and even the slot machine was a great addition to the booth too. How fitting, right? Did you find that actually worked, like as a not, I don't want to say gimmick, but as an attention grabber?
It worked so well to the point where people weren't even interested in the product. A lot of people were, but some people were actually just stopping and saying, like, I don't know what you're selling, but like, I just want to take pictures of this. And I think day 3, we were having people from other booths looking for booth ideas, and they were pretty open about it. They were saying, like, I'm just looking to steal an idea. I was like, okay, while you're here, do you want to learn about active air management?
Were they looking for where they were probably looking for where the money came out, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, people ask it, if I press a button, do I win a free one? Well, you win the opportunity. You win a salesman. That's what I like to say.
Yeah. You win an appointment with a salesman.
That's right. That's right.
I love it. I love it.
Our marketing team and specifically our designer, Christy, did a phenomenal job organizing all of this. But Kyle, Christina, and Christy, I can't say enough about the work that they put in. Our engineering team, Vlad Lavrovsky and Gio, Semyon and our electrical engineering team, like, they all put in so much work to make that happen. And, we couldn't have been happy with how it turned out.
Yeah. If anybody wants to get a snapshot or glimmer of it, I know you guys have been posting actively on LinkedIn too. Check out the Haven IAQ LinkedIn post, because there's some great videos and pictures on there, what we went through. And honestly, kudos to everybody, your entire team. Even the poker chips with the QR code on the back. Excellent idea. Again, like, just you guys did really a wonderful job. So tell me about some of the crews that came through that you were getting questions. Did you find it? What kind of mix did you see? It was contractors, manufacturers. Tell me what you saw, and I'll kind of compare it to what I saw too.
How much time you got?
Yeah, I know, right? Well, it's a contractor show, right? But this time, being in person for the first time in 2 years, first of all, that was a really good feeling. I don't know about you, but being in a group of people, it was a masked event, obviously. And I thought I appreciated being in that atmosphere again. I don't know about you, but it was a long time coming. Energizing.
And I can tell you that, having never exhibited at a show, it was unlike anything I'd ever would have expected it to be. I've walked around at shows before, but it's a very different experience when you have to be on for 8 hours a day, 8+ hours a day. I likened it to, for my first 6 months here, I was doing basically 30-minute go-to-market strategies, pro portal demos. And having to be on for that 30 minutes, that was manageable. You break that up in chunks, you do one, you take a break, you come back, you do another one. This was like 8+ hours of being on. And I'm a naturally introverted person. You might not know it, but I'm an introverted person.
Shocking me. You're shocking me.
Wow. Believe it or not, they do exist in sales. And I can remember at the end of every day, everybody wanted to go out and, gamble and party and go to shows. And then there was me up in my hotel room just being like, oh God, I need 2 hours to just recuperate from all of that. but it was an experience. It was unreal. I remember when on day 3, when I met up with you at the Dust Free booth, I was about halfway through my journey. I felt like a pilgrimage going from one side to the other. And I made it all the way to the end. I randomly sat down at some booths just to rest and talk to people, but I would say it took about 4 hours to walk up and down each aisle. And when I got back, I thought I'd seen the whole show, but it turns out there was an entirely separate hall that I never even went to. So
it was 2 different halls. Yeah. So I don't know about you, but so the first day's attendance I found to be very, very worthy of a traditional AHR show. I was actually shocked. I mean, I lost my voice at the end of the first day because it was a day full of conversations, honestly, really good conversations. And for a day 1 at ASHRAE, it seemed like every other ASHRAE year. So kudos to them. I mean, honestly, to get everybody out. Day 2 kind of waned a little bit, but still some excellent conversations. And I think I lost my voice the second day too. And then day 3, traditional day where most of the booth representatives or people that had booths there kind of get together, and that's where honestly that kind of business is done once we're done presenting to the bulk of the contractors by Wednesday. Although I will say I did see contractors there Wednesday too. It was really interesting. So, and then your knees probably hurt after the first day, right? Standing all day too. It's amazing how that catches up with you. But so tell me about some of the conversations you had in the booth. Like, what were you getting contractors? Did you actually get some contractor conversations going?
Several.
Yeah. How interested were they? Was it a curiosity thing? Had they heard about you before? Tell me a little bit about some of those conversations.
Yeah. So some people were coming to us completely blind, and makes sense. Like, we're a smaller company, up and coming, but we don't have that national presence quite yet. But they were coming to us. It felt like in waves almost. So in a 20-30 minute session, we might have 2-3 contractors and interested people come through. And just when you let your guard down, you turn around for 1 second, you turn around and there's, now there's 25 people in the booth, and you have to really be able to pivot. And, I can't speak enough to how helpful, members of my team were, even members like, Lucy in product and Christina in marketing. They're not naturally salespeople, but they were very helpful in at least keeping people engaged to the point where Alex, myself, Kyle, and Kevin could break away from another conversation and keep them engaged. So it was very much a group effort in terms of keeping people engaged. I felt myself manned basically exclusively at that software booth, because I had done the Pro Portal demo so many times. So it ended up just becoming a routine. I felt like a slot machine myself. You would press a button and a one-liner would come out, or an anecdote would come out. And, at the end of it, we got to the point where people, I think, left feeling good about the product. And I collected a lot of business cards. Excellent. I'm an old soul. I don't like scanning QR codes. I like business cards. When people didn't have them, I would scan them. But I think I ended up with close to, I would say, 60 or 70. Yeah. So very good.
Excellent. So did you find a general IAQ curiosity amongst those contractors? I mean, were they legitimately like into or in tune with indoor air quality and like the important, did you sense from them like a sense of not urgency, but IAQ as being a prominent part of our industry? Did you get that at all from any of those conversations?
I think you have to be looking with your head in the sand to
right.
ignore how prevalent IAQ has been. One thing that I think you'll relate to is that although contractors might want to join IAQ and start offering it, many times they pile into it and they have no idea how to actually sell it properly. And it ends up being very much they'll take a product, they'll throw it in market. If it doesn't sell, they throw their hands up and they go to the next one. But they won't actually have a strategy behind that. So that's at Haven, that's kind of where we take it one step further. And that's why we're so insistent on being active as an OEM and working with our TMs and distributors and actually working with the contractors to make sure that they get a proper business launch. But to answer your question, I think IAQ has never been more prevalent. And it's not just because of COVID, that's because of the forest fires as well. And you were mentioning earlier how, it's severe, and in certain areas, especially Pacific Northwest, and they get hit very hard. I just got off a rep call with a contractor from Seattle, and he was telling me I didn't even have to ask him about if he had been impacted by the forest fires. He just volunteered it. So it's a massive part of the industry. It's not going away. I like to joke that the irony is that it's getting stale because it's all about fresh air, but companies and contractors are piling into it because it's, it can be very lucrative, but only if you understand how to properly sell it.
And that's honestly, that point right there is what I really appreciate about your company and where Haven positions. I just went through one of your partners' presentations a little while ago, and I just was so impressed that like the actual product part of the presentation came last, right? The very front end, and this is where the conversation is brilliant because it's a way for contractors to. It's not just an air management system. It's not just hardware. It's not just software. This is a means to grow your business and grow those relationships, right? It's not a transactional. It's not here's your piece of hardware, here's your app, and we're good, right? You're one and done. Talk a little bit about that. It's not transactional. It's meant for the bigger picture in the life of the contractor and for the sake of his livelihood, right?
Right. And it's, when I was on the counter, because I worked at 2 years at the counter level here in Canada before joining Haven, I noticed that there were two specific types of sales. It was transactional and then relationship. And transactional can be great for things like capacitors and copper fittings. But when it comes to things like equipment, specialized tools, relationship building will always win out. That said, a product like ours, it has a specific value prop that isn't necessarily apparent if you lead your pitch with value or just dumping facts and features. So you really have to get in the heads of the contractors and get them to kind of put the pieces together themselves, ask them very probing questions about their business. And sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable. People don't want to look inward, but you have to get them to ask tough questions about their own business. And, are we doing everything we can to maximize our IAQ sales potential? That's the doubt for us.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank you for answering that because I really wanted people to get a little glimpse of what it was. If they were to come to your booth, that's part of the message that you guys were giving. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's legitimate. It's honest. And it's funny you say that, now no more than ever is a better time. And we say this in our own sales training is, it might be a chance for contractors to actually take a step back, right? And look at where they are and do they want to change or do they want to adapt? And do they want to add these services to their portfolio or their offering to help their businesses long-term and to be around a long time. And I just kudos to you guys. I mean, honestly, it's a great message. The other thing did you get the experience of other manufacturers coming by your booth too? I always thought that's always an interesting thing. Did you have that happen to you?
Plenty. Yeah, plenty. And Kevin was meeting with several high-end, high executives from these companies. And I've noticed a shift, and I've only been with Haven for 7 months, but the position we're in now, where we're very much dealing from a position of strength versus a position of weakness. I think coming on as a new OEM, you're kind of like the new kid on the block, and you're dealing with a lot of existing companies that have held power in this industry for many, many, many years. And it takes a lot of work to break the mold. But once you do, you kind of flip the switch a little bit, and your product is seen as valuable. And a lot of the larger OEM companies take notice. And, I always say that you're only going to go in this business as far as your relationships take you. You need to meet as many people and network as much as you can and align yourselves with companies that are like-minded and that are on a similar trajectory. That's the best way to go about it. But it was definitely evident that people were taking notice.
Yeah, I had the same experience in a couple of the other booths that I was in and talking to a lot of people, some just random manufacturers that might have been from the sheet metal side of the business, right? Just coming up and really just curious about, the products, the IAQ products in particular, and just what's going on because they think in terms of their own houses too, right? I mean, everybody has the same issue. Yeah, they really do. In fact, I had to do a little research for a class I had to teach a couple of weeks ago. And I was looking up, what does the air quality monitoring market look like? And what I found was it was actually kind of interesting. Was Globe Newswire was the source that I found. They basically said the market size is going to grow to $6.2 billion by 2026. And it had been a little over $4 billion in 2020. So in other words, it's going to grow by $2 billion in about 4 years. That's a huge opportunity for everybody. And you guys, by being unique, we had Ben on the show previously, and Alex from Haven on the show previously. So anybody interested in learning more about the Haven IAQ product or positioning of it, check out those 2 previous episodes, because it really is a unique product. And Scott, just explain to everybody real quick. It's just, it's meant to be installed in the HVAC system more permanently than than the temporary thing, correct? Just real quick, give us a lowdown so people can get a refresher.
Yeah, so the product itself is a 2-piece ecosystem that combines the in-duct monitoring of PM 2.5 VOCs, relative humidity, and temperature with the collaborative controls of the controller, working with up to 2 pieces of IAQ accessories per controller. So the monitor gets installed in the return air duct, 2 feet away from any bends or other IAQ accessories. It's got about 8 inches of penetration, and it's got a built-in airflow validation tool. So it'll actually get you to rotate the faceplate while you're installing it to make sure you're getting the optimal amount of airflow. The data from the monitor then gets uploaded to our Pro portal, where the technician can remotely diagnose and monitor the system. Further to that, they can actually export that data into a 4-page spread and actually sit down with their customers or virtually send it over, use that data to make service recommendations, and ultimately build that relationship and trust with their customer. But yeah, it started as a wearable device, believe it or not. And I know you know this, Rob, but Kevin launched it as a wearable device about 5 years ago, and it was meant to actually track silica dust in a construction site, because Kevin was a journeyman electrician and was very concerned about that being an issue. But the market didn't really have a necessary fit for that, and he made the decision to pivot into the in-duct model. It is designed to be permanently installed. But we have seen some customers go the temporary method. They'll charge an upfront diagnostic fee, come back in 2 weeks, give the device some time to collect data, and say, all right, Mr. Customer, we've had this in for 2 weeks. You can see what your air quality looks like now. If you'd like to keep the device in, I'll deduct the cost of the diagnosis off of the total cost of the device. We've already got it in there. All you have to do is sign here. And that's ended up working out quite well. Some contractors actually throw it in on every install as a loss leader as well. So if you're install heavy, there's a fit there, build it in.
It's a wonderful way to make the invisible visible, right? And you take that data-driven, you drive it towards solutions, right? It actually gives the contractor a means to identify what's actually going on, real life data and active data, and turning that into, and I love your reports too, that I've seen just recently too, that it actually takes it and puts it in writing, how it helps the contractor explain to a homeowner what actually the issue is and what can be done about it. It's just a brilliant way to take the data and use it in a way to help a contractor grow his business and grow his relationship with his customers, and to help sell those IAQ solutions. So kudos to your team, man. You guys are crushing it. You're killing it. That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. And you mentioned that, building that relationship and using that data to build trust. Further to that, I think everybody in this industry knows there's an inherent lack of trust between the customer and the contractor. And that's just because a few bad apples spoil the bunch. We had a news report up here in Canada of a company that was going through homes and basically using scare tactics and fraudulent evidence to try to scam homeowners into replacing equipment that didn't need to be replaced. And that article blew up across Canada. We had people sending it to us. I had people that weren't even in the HVAC industry sending it to me. So that's all it takes. And people read that, they go into an experience with a contractor with that negative, frame of mind in the back of their head, and they're on the defensive. They're constantly looking, well, how am I going to get sold? Because people love to buy. They hate to be sold, but they love to buy, right? Nobody likes to be sold. So, let Haven do the selling for you. That's what I would say.
Exactly. Now, a few bad apples, or you find them in any industry, but it ruins it for everybody. So where can people go to find out more? Your website is
www.haveniaq.com.
Awesome.
And if you're interested, we do Pro Portal demos. We do personal use program where you can purchase up to 3 devices directly from Haven at $249 USD per combo. It comes with the monitor and controller. From there, we work with you directly to find the path of least resistance, as I like to call it. Find the most appropriate distributor for you to go through, and work with your business directly to onboard the product so that you can have a successful launch.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. Vegas is wrapped up. Scott, I'm sure we're going to be seeing you in Atlanta next year as well. Hopefully I will see you before then, but looking forward to your next team's creative idea for booth ideas in Atlanta. I can only
I am
imagine.
as well. Yeah, I know we're working hard because now we have to top the Vegas experience, get people coming back. So
Exactly.
I know we're already thinking about it.
I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward. Scott, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate it.
Hey, not a problem, Rob. Thank you very much.